Hey, friends, welcome to Thirst Impressions. I'm Kevin, and today we are talking about porn, purity, and the perfect cocktail.
And I'm Spencer.
I'm Belinda.
And I am Will.
So, this kind of cocktail, where all of the ingredients are equal parts, is known as a perfect cocktail.
Perfect cocktail. So we're making a perfect cocktail this week.
Yeah, one of the classics, a Negroni.
You know, I don't love the classics. I think we've talked about this offline before.
Yeah.
So a lot of the classics lean towards what's known as a 3-ingredient cocktail and or a perfect cocktail, and they tend to be booze forward, and partially because access to juices and citrus and things like that was less common way back when. So it went with drinks that, and maybe they were just fucking alcoholics. I don't know. But no, this. So this drink actually is a riff on even more classic drink called the Americano, which was created in 1860 in, I want to say it was Milan, Italy, by a bartender whose last name was Campari. Ta-da! The same
Campari.
as this aperitif.
Please don't
Amazing.
please don't cancel me for faking an Italian accent.
I won't, not this time.
Okay.
But you've been warned. No, just kidding. So the Americano was named the Americano because all the fucking tourists in Milan who were American loved this drink. And it was basically equal parts Campari and a sweet vermouth. And a vermouth is just a fortified wine, essentially, like a distilled wine. So they would do equal parts of those, about 1.5 ounces each, and then just top it off in a tall glass with club soda.
You know, I didn't know that was what vermouth was, but now this has got me thinking, what if you use like a port or sherry?
No,
That would be interesting.
And that's the beauty. It's interesting. The Negroni grew out of a riff on the Americano, but one of the things the Negroni is most known for is being a cocktail that is easily riffable. So if you go through even some of the cocktails that are considered classics, like Boulevardier or Old Pal, are just riffs on a Negroni. So that combination of what's known as a perfect cocktail, the equal parts of each ingredient, just mixing it up. So let's talk about the Negroni, though. The Negroni, like I said, was there was a man by the name of Count Negroni living in the Florence area, and he had been an American cowboy for early parts of his life. He moved to London and lived in London for a while, really got into gin. But when he was home in Italy, his favorite drink was that Americano. So he's at the bar in Florence in 1919, as the story goes, and he orders the Americano, and then he's wait, bartender, you know what? I want to get fucked up tonight. I want to get fucked up. I don't think he really said that because I don't know.
Maybe he said, I want to get fucked up.
Jesus. I warned you.
It's me, Negroni.
So he orders an Americano, but instead of club soda in his Americano, he asks him to put gin in instead. So equal parts gin, vermouth, sweet vermouth, and the Campari. And I see Will's jumped ahead. He's experimenting.
I'm not.
So for mine,
I'm not quite sure how much I like this.
Ooh.
I'm using a gin called Gin Gigi. I guess that's how you say it. It's an Indian dry gin. Usually you use a dry gin
I'm offended.
A Campari or a Negroni. And then Campari, there are other types of bitter aperitifs that are Italian out there. They're even red usually, but stick with Campari. It's what we have here in Utah. And then Punti Mez, which is a sweet vermouth that I enjoy. So I add those to my mixing glass. I saw Will shook his up. Generally, you don't shake a Negroni, but James Bond liked to do his things differently. We'll just assume that you're the same. But you get a mixing glass, you add a little bit of ice, and you give it a nice stir.
Like James Bond, the name is Will. Will actually.
Will actually.
Will actually, oh my God. I coincidentally, I just went through all the James Bond movies. So it's funny that you said that.
Okay.
So
I'm dying
then,
to drink my drink.
Negroni is generally garnished with an orange peel. So I take my peeler and I magically have an orange peel that I then twist over my glass with my ice in it. Put that in there. And then I quickly strain off my drink right into the glass.
With the Hawthorne strainer.
And I will tell you, generally a Negroni is fairly red, but depending on the sweet vermouth you use, mine's very dark. It goes darker.
So did you do the perfect Negroni without any additions?
I did. No, I did a variation, a slight variation that I
What
was
did you
just about
do?
to mention. So I took our good friend of the podcast, really,
Stanley Tucci.
Yeah, Stanley.
Hey,
What's up,
Stanley.
Stan. What's up, Stan?
Stan.
I mean, what-
I'm a Stan for Stan.
I took a bar spoonful, so just this tiny little bar spoon, a bar spoonful of some very, very nice balsamic vinegar, and just toss that in before I stirred it up. And it just gives it a little added sweetness and loveliness.
So
but,
I actually really like this. It's good.
I will say,
cheers.
actually, that I did not like a Negroni until I added a teaspoon of balsamic vinegar, and now I can't have enough.
Oh.
So
It's wonderful.
completely changes the experience.
Wow.
Will.
It is quite bitter.
Yes, it's a bitter cocktail.
That's yeah.
The balsamic adds a little bit of acid and a little bit of sweet, which is nice.
Okay.
So
It's growing on me though. The first couple sips, I was like, but
it's kind of
after sipping on a little bit, I can feel the texture and the taste of it.
So Negronis are always like summertime vibes for me, like sitting on the porch, sipping on this after dinner. It's kind of an aperitif type cocktail, meaning a lot of people will sip on it like before dinner as a kind of a palate exciter, if you will, kind of getting your palate ready for dinner. Or we'll sip on it after to kind of help settle their stomach after they eat. I just sip on them whenever the fuck I feel like it. So that's what an aperitif means for me. But yeah, to Negronis, to Italians, to Count Negroni and
Count
Bartender
Negroni.
Campari. Yeah,
it's really odd that you had mentioned that there is an alcoholic drink called an Americano, because I'm more familiar with the coffee Americano.
Yeah, we should one of these times we should do a coffee version, like an early morning or kind of maybe mid-morning. We have very varying sleep schedules.
Yes, we
between
do.
the four of us. Sometimes significantly so.
Ian and
But
Spencer are literally like the exact opposites.
Yes.
yeah, they
Right
could work,
now, I'm
shift
like,
work together.
You know when you light a match and you like burn it all the way down and it's about to burn your fingers? That's me right now.
It's called a stinger.
Meanwhile, it's like noon to me right now, honestly. So,
but it would be fun to record one kind of early afternoonish, where we maybe share our favorite coffee styles, or I don't know. I don't know a lot about coffee. So.
This might be a little meta, but I was thinking it would be kind of cool to have like some sort of like a coffee break episode where it was
that'd be good.
Just like a really short, like 20 minutes, like what's going on this week? How do you feel about it? Here's some coffee. Here's how you make it. Boom.
Let's
done.
do it. And it could be just a quick afternoon thing, like when we're all at home and during the week, like on a Wednesday or something.
Well, right now on at least a couple days a week, we all work from home, right? So yeah, let's do it.
If not wine, then coffee.
Yes.
Or both.
Do
Not
they
at the
have?
same time.
I was gonna say that might not taste the greatest.
Who knows?
But talking about things that happened this week.
Yeah.
Man, another shooting, another day in America. What a sad state of affairs. And to all our Asian friends, it's got to be really tough what's going on right now. especially with like it's been crazy seeing like the rise of the violence that is happening against our Asian friends. I
Yeah.
remember it was about a year ago. I was following this climate change reporter, and who happens to be Asian, and he started a reporting on these stories of these elderly Asian folks in New York who are
Yeah.
just getting attacked and like being randomly stabbed and lit on fire. And it's been really sad to see the sort of like anti-Asian rhetoric. It still continues to this day.
As much as I celebrate not hearing about Donald Trump in the news, I laid a bit of the blame at his feet. I mean,
Yeah.
when the coronavirus was discovered, or at least detected, he quickly pivoted to calling it the China flu and the China virus. And you know,
blaming
people were
them.
making
Yeah.
jokes about kung flu and all this stuff, and it's hard to even say it, and it's just gross.
Yeah.
But you know, when we normalize bad behavior, bad things happen, right?
Exactly.
And you've
I
got
mean,
someone in a position of influence who is making light of these things and frankly poking fun, essentially. I don't know.
well, you
Um,
had, I remember Meghan McCain wrote like an article, like an opinion piece, where the thesis of her opinion or whatever was like Trump calling it the China virus is actually a good thing, but it's
How's
not.
that?
Yeah, that's like the byline was something to those lines. And I think what a lot of people forget is language matters a lot.
Yeah.
Like even little things like that. Like you might think like, oh, China virus, what is that harming? Like, yeah, maybe it's a little like anti-Asian, but like who is it really harming? Well, it's harming Asians. It's changing the public's perception into thinking that it's okay to start like demagoguing like their
I
race or
I, I think just like during all the Black Lives Matter issues that came up last year, like it emboldens people with already like cemented racist thoughts to go out and do things to people, right? Like they feel like, oh well, it's
yeah, I mean,
revenge or something. I don't know.
it goes back to this whole America first, make America great again, this nationalist mindset where
yeah,
you know it's rooted in xenophobia, and it's rooted in a fear of the other, right?
right.
And you had the president championing that, and many people who aligned with his political views championing it as well. And I didn't imagine that. Not that I supported what he was saying or anything like that, I'm not saying that, but to see a shooting happen, you know, and I can see the breadcrumbs, I can see the dotted line running right back to him, right
Yeah.
back to the right, and the rhetoric that they've used around the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen some conservatives online, and even not conservatives, where they say like, oh well, the shooting wasn't like specifically targeted towards Asians. So like why are you making such a big deal about it? Well, would would that insane person, the insane shooter, would he have felt as emboldened to do what he did if Asians weren't as demagogued against for the past years? Like, would it have been different? I don't know.
I
I don't
think
know.
Asian bias is something that's kind of flown under the radar for many, many, many years. Probably like it's come and gone as far. I mean, we had World War II. We're here in Utah, where the Topaz internment camps are, which is a pretty heavy situation. I need to take my kids down and see that one of these days. But I feel like sometimes certain forms of racism are not as acknowledged as others are. And so sometimes we think, oh, it's, not a big deal, or, somebody makes mimics an accent or does this and that, and everybody, titters, the silliness of it. And then we get violent acts like this. So I think
I
Yeah,
think
Asian bias has been going on for a long time.
I think
Not
it's
acknowledged.
I think it's a good reminder to just remember to be more cautious about the type of language we're using, and like even the type of jokes that we find acceptable, like you had said, like it's not just like when I think of Black Lives Matter, I of course it's specifically targeted towards making sure that there's equity among Black people and white
As
people,
it
but
should.
it's
Yep.
at the heart of it, it's trying to fight against white supremacy.
Right.
And white supremacy isn't just targeting Black people, it's also targeting Native Americans and Asians and anybody who's not white or who doesn't
Right.
fall into the category of white. And I think we just need to be a little bit more cognizant of recognizing things that are supportive of that white supremacist structure.
I'm reminded of an interaction I had, man, this had to be 3 years ago on a Facebook group. I think it was a Facebook group for guys or something. Anyhow, someone in the group decided to make a joke about Asian drivers, specifically a woman, and posted it. And all these people were jumping in, and I just said, "This is not funny. Why?
Yeah.
Why are you even sharing this?" And everyone was surprised and offended, and I'm just like, "This is not okay." I mean, this is before, I think before many people were speaking out against this stuff, but it's another example of, if you choose to say nothing, it becomes okay. But I had to choose to say something.
So an interesting form of racism um, that I'm certain I've been guilty of many times in my life, and I think it's hard to recognize sometimes unless you are either called out on it or you really do some internalizing of your own thoughts. Is this idea of what's the word, like caricaturizing a race? In other words, and it can be even in seemingly positive ways. Um, so
A poo on The Simpsons,
black
right?
people are
Or,
better
yeah.
athletes.
Oh, like that.
So even in these ways that or Asian women and sexuality is often a kind of this characterization of a race, right? And it's completely unfair. First of all, it leads to people being lumped together in ways that are unfair to them individually, but it can also lead to, because so I read an article in the New York Times this week. The title was, let me look here, Atlanta suspect. I haven't had that much to drink yet. Come on, Kevin. Atlanta suspects fixation on sex is familiar thorn for evangelicals. We'll get it. Let's stick a pin in that whole concept. But this man basically said, I'm addicted to sex, and I don't know.
That's why he shot them. I guess I haven't heard that much about it as far as from his point of view. I don't know. Thankfully, but
I mean, fuck his point of view at this point.
Right.
He murdered people.
But
so
his rationalization of what he did, like what did he say?
Yeah. No, he basically said, I'm addicted to sex, and this was my only way to stop having easy access to sex. It was, I believe they were at spas or massage parlors, and I'm not here trying to cast any judgment or any knowledge upon whether there were places where people could go to have sex or not. That I don't know. But really doesn't matter exactly.
Yeah.
But what he was trying to imply was essentially he was trying to rid the area of a place where poor suffering white men like him who are addicted to sex could go to be tempted by these seductive Asian women, right?
Well, I think like even how I saw the media cover it the first day or two, I think it kind of shows kind of the white supremacist underpinnings of our society. Like when the police went out, and I don't know if it was their very first press conference that they did, the spokesman came out and said, this guy's just having a bad day. And it's like, no shit. Of course he's having a fucking bad day. That's not the fucking point. He just went out and shot people. We're not here to try to give this guy some sort of like, oh, well, let's feel bad for him because like, think how hard it must be after shooting a bunch of people getting arrested. Like, come on. I don't even.
Let's take him to Carl's Jr., right? Isn't that what they did with one of the other shooting
King,
suspects?
Dylan Roof, I believe. And then, I don't want to repeat their names, but
yeah, fuck them.
Yeah.
So, but all right, I'm gonna go back to that pen I put in something. So yeah, just pull that.
Sex
pen
addiction, evangelicals, religion, avoiding the topic.
I mean, I really should have worn my other red. I mean, this one's appropriate, but
Provo kills love.
Provo kills love. Yeah, here in Utah, we have this porn kills love. What? Public service announcement? I don't know what the fuck it is.
501(c)(3).
It's a public health. What is it? It's a
public health crisis. Yeah.
Public health crisis. The governor declared it as such, right?
Yeah.
Because all the men are addicted to porn, because women, of course, are not sexual. At least white Mormon women are not sexual by nature. So all the men, all these fine priesthood holders are being tempted by all the porn writers, right? No, sorry, that's an inside joke. But by all of the, provocative Cosmo magazine. For those of you not in Utah, that's kind of an inside joke too. We have billboards on the interstate highway here.
Yeah,
and they've been here for years, right?
In grocery stores too, they cover up the magazines. Have you noticed that? I think that was legislated or something.
Yeah, they have little plastic panels that cover the up to the chest area of most
the milky
magazines.
Misogyny.
The milky. That's no, but I think it kind of goes back to kind of this Judeo-Christian
Puritan
idea that women are accountable for men's sexual sins, right?
It's rape culture.
It is.
Oh,
and so
when I see a shoulder, I can't just control my thoughts.
But I mean, think back to
oh my god,
I just want to stick my dick in an armpit.
Oh my god.
But think back the Bible, and it was common for women to be stoned, right, for a sex sin, quote, or who knows what, right? They were, or murdered, right? They'd be murdered. They'd be, I don't know. All stoned, you'd die, right? But
yeah, you're right. I mean,
not this kind of stone, like the throwing rocks stone,
right?
But yeah,
they are holding women accountable.
Much of the blame for men's behavior has been laid at the feet of women, for sure,
and continues to be. Yeah.
And in the New Testament, didn't Jesus say, if a woman, is like sexy, just pull your eyes out, pluck your eye out, don't look, right?
That's an exact quote.
That is an exact quote
Verily,
from Jesus, the rock of Christ.
A real historical.
Thus saith the Lord, if a woman is sexy, pluck your eye out.
What I think is really funny is because one of the most popular stories in the Bible is a story of Jesus being pro-sex worker, standing up for sex workers' rights.
Yep.
You can't say it like that.
No, but you can't say it like that. But that's exactly what happened. Jesus stood up for a prostitute and told everybody else, you don't cast stones if you can only cast stones if you haven't sinned yourself. I haven't read the Bible in so long, so I'm fucking it up. But that's he was essentially saying what we should be the type of advice that we should be following now is when women are using their body to make money. I don't understand why men need to, or not even men, but even other women, why they need to make it be such a bad thing. I understand that there's exploitation within the sex worker industry, but that exists because of the criminalization of it. Yeah. And I don't know, I could go on and on about this.
Here's the thing. Here's where it gets tricky too. Going back to where we live and the religious side, what is a sex worker? What does that even mean, right? When I hear sex worker, I'll be honest with you, my immediate thought is a prostitute, someone who agrees to have sex with someone for some sort of financial recourse, right? But a lot of people here would consider, and I guess I would too, actors in pornography, or
those are absolute sex workers.
Here you might even consider any R-rated movie where sexuality is portrayed as, are they a sex worker? Like that's the
Or
tricky part
exotic
to this.
dancers in Utah, right?
Yes,
Like
tho-
people in
those are
Utah
sex-
would exactly, they would say they were sex
Sex
workers.
workers are people who are workers within the sex industry, meaning
Right.
like strippers, prostitutes, even women who are doing OnlyFans. Like
Yeah.
those sorts of things, we
Or
need
men.
to stop making it
Or
be
men.
such a bad thing in the eyes of the public. They're workers just like anybody else. They deserve the same sort of rights that any other worker deserves.
And if you're religious and you don't believe in, utilizing the services of a sex worker, you should not do that thing, right?
Exactly.
You
But,
can
yeah.
choose not to use those services, just like you can choose not to support any business you don't care for, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Here-
a lot of these people are really good and decent people. There's here in Utah, there's I follow them on Twitter. I believe they call themselves like the Sex Workers Co-op. And what they do is they do mutual aid for sex workers. So when a sex worker needs food or needs supplies for their house in order to live, they will supply
childcare, things like that. Yeah.
pick up for each other.
Yeah. I love
What a
that.
novel idea.
Yeah. No, having been Mormon kids, right?
I thought you were about to say, having been a sex worker. I was like, really? I did not know this.
Tell me
No,
more.
women are held accountable within Mormonism to a high degree for the acts and thoughts, even of the menfolk in the church. As a young girl, you're taught not to wear bare shoulders because, even as children, don't wear a tank top because, that's not modest. How many boys, you boys that were in primary or young men's, how many lessons on modesty did you get about what you should wear?
Zero.
Zero.
I don't remember.
So we got once a year a lesson once you were in the priesthood, right? In the Aaronic priesthood. So 12 to 18.
Yeah.
About once a year, you would get the extremely awkward, uncomfortable kind of sex chastity lesson, where it was basically just like,
don't jerk it.
Don't fucking touch yourself. Not even don't jerk it. Like, don't even like
tickle.
look at yourself naked, because you're going to be so turned on that you're going to get an immediate erection and come everywhere. And then
wait, that doesn't happen to you?
God, I wish that happened. That'd be
Kevin's
awesome.
mirror is like just a smear.
That's why I have
semen.
that's why I have no mirrors in my house.
No. But honestly, it was once a year, and you were made to feel so ashamed and so uncomfortable with the notion of any kind of sexuality whatsoever. Like even just like beyond, I don't know, like thinking a girl is a little bit pretty, anything beyond that, it's like, you should feel guilty about this. You probably need to speak to the bishop and repent.
Right.
They wouldn't even really, honestly, for me, and obviously it varies from congregation to congregation a little bit, but for me, rarely was the talk even about don't jerk it, don't masturbate. I mean, it was kind of implied, I guess, more than anything, but it was like all these terrible, terrible things can happen if you don't live this like very puritanical, like
guard your thoughts, guard your interactions with women,
guard your skin so you don't accidentally brush something against your penis and like have something that will change the rest of your eternity,
But how many talks did you receive about you dressing modestly as boys?
Oh, zero. It was just about white shirts. We needed that white shirt.
They knew you weren't going off in booty shorts and but there was no problem with you guys wearing tank tops, right? Like if you're playing basketball at the church gym.
I was going to say, I'm a kid of the 80s, so we had booty shorts for basketball and stick basketball. Like they were little tight booty shorts,
But it wasn't a problem for boys, right?
Yeah,
and
cool.
Really,
women aren't sexual, and no human is born homosexual, according to Mormon lore.
True.
So a boy in booty shorts doesn't fucking matter because
women aren't objectifying men.
Like homosexuals aren't real, and women aren't sexual. So in their mindset, like it wouldn't really matter if a boy wore booty shorts because like
He's
nobody's
not a target.
no, like that's not going to be sexual to anyone.
Right.
Yeah, I've been sitting here trying to weave together the common thread. So we started at this
all over the place.
evangelical mass murderer,
Oh.
right? Who is addicted to sex. You've got Mormonism,
Claims he's
shaming.
addicted to sex.
Recently, Utah passed legislation. Well, they didn't. The governor hasn't signed it yet, but there's a bill that's on his desk waiting to be signed that would essentially compel or force cell phone manufacturers to install filters on their phone for porn. There's just a general
Really? I
aversion.
didn't even know about that.
Yeah. So it's almost like,
God damn it.
A filter meaning like you wouldn't be able to even view it, or
yeah,
like
you'd have to actively disable it. So the phones would come with an anti-porn filter. Utah also passed legislation along with a few other states to require internet porn sites to display a warning before you visit.
I thought that was already there.
I don't know if you've seen
time.
that.
No,
Yeah, it's specific
recent,
to
no.
Utah. It's a thing. It exists. You can
Allegedly.
check it out.
I haven't
Allegedly,
experienced it
yeah. I
myself,
mean,
yeah.
that's what I've heard.
I wouldn't know because guys, when you're watching porn, please use a VPN. Please
use protection. So
but not your work VPN.
Use your internet. Yes, use your internet condom.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Anyhow, I
Google
I've been trying
incognito
to
isn't
weave-
enough, Will?
I've been trying to weave together these thoughts, and I think the common point here is that dark spaces create dark things.
Yes.
And like at least they give rise to dark things. You know, it's no surprise that in Utah, for example, there are very high rates of sex-based crimes. Okay. And well, I mean, that's not to say correlation is causation, whatever, but you know, highly religious population, aversion to sex. I mean, I remember growing up, my parents didn't even use the word sex. Or even in church, like it was just something you didn't. I never got the talk, dude. Like
Really?
never.
Well,
I mean, I figured out in all the worst ways. I'll just say that, right? And it's not great when you avoid something to the point where, yeah, there's going to be curiosity. We're human, you know, whether it's your friends talk about it or you're exposed in other ways. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to get my education one way or another. So it's like this aversion to normal human development and having a principled or at least responsible way to discuss these things with our kids or others creates these opportunities for bad things to happen.
Well, I kind of think of it like, no, you're absolutely right, Spencer. I'll get back to the point I was going to make, but BYU actually did a study on this. They did a study on the harmful effects of pornography, and they happened to find out that the harm that comes from pornography largely comes from the I'm trying to think of the word.
The guilt?
The guilt applied from either the like religious or otherwise, the guilt that is applied to the act afterwards. Like if that is where the problem comes from. That's where, like, when you make porn, for the study was specifically about porn. When you make porn be taboo, it makes people hide it, almost like an alcohol addiction.
Yep.
And then they start to become addicted to it. And then it becomes a problem. It's not that itself, like porn in of itself is a problem. It's the shame and the guilt that is applied to it that is the problem.
Now let's be clear.
That makes sense.
There, in my opinion, and I think probably in all of our opinions, there is some porn. I'm not saying all porn is equally healthy or whatever. There is porn where people are either, you know, being abused by the system or being abused, like literally, obviously child pornography or things like that. We here at Thirst Impressions do not endorse and do not think of as a healthy, positive thing. But but there is porn, to your point. I mean, this is a BYU fucking study that you're talking about, right? Like, these are clearly people who are invested in a system that says porn is bad, porn kills
100%, yeah.
love, all of that. I cannot tell you how many people, I'm in several post-Mormon groups or divorce groups or things like that. How many people talk about, either women talk about or men, but it's oftentimes women saying, yeah, I left the church, or I got a divorce because my husband was addicted to porn.
Right.
And then I left the church, and then I realized, like, oh, well, maybe what my husband was doing wasn't actually as bad as I thought it was. Like, he just wanted more sex and I wasn't that interested in sex. Or maybe I gave him plenty of sex, which is fine. We all have different levels of sexuality throughout our life, and it varies. Right. But maybe he just like was interested in a little fantasy. Maybe he was interested in a little, and some of these things can be very normal. You might even argue healthy sexual behaviors when done in the right situation, in the right scenario.
Exactly.
Yeah, Kevin, I'm so glad you brought that up, because so I can't really speak to like the being married type of aspect of it, but I can see how. Well, let me give you this example. I may have said this in a previous episode of ours, but I remember when I first started drinking. And when I first started drinking, I didn't know.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that, by the way. Yeah.
Yes. I didn't know how to drink. And so I would drink in an unhealthy way, where I would get really drunk, and like that was the whole point, was just to get like blackout drunk. It wasn't to enjoy it. It wasn't to enjoy myself. It was just to get drunk. And it took me like literally going to therapy and talking to my therapist about it for him to give me the life advice that I needed to actually drink in a healthy way, where like you're supposed to drink to enjoy yourself, and like why drink if you're not enjoying yourself, right? Like just that's a broad generalization of the type of advice he gave me. But I think if you apply that same sort of logic to like porn, for instance, or sex, I can see how that can apply to like relationships. Like if you have a healthy way of I don't know, a healthy way of consuming porn or having sex, you will eventually have the capability of having healthy conversations with your partner, where you can talk about these sorts of things, where you can talk about like, I really like if you're a man and you're supposedly addicted to porn, talk about that with your partner. Talk about like what is it that you're not getting out of the relationship that is making you go towards like the taboo aspect of porn.
100%. So in Mormonism, I feel like there's more porn viewing than outside of Mormonism. Even
I mean, that's just statistically accurate.
Yeah. I mean, let's just do a general
like as a proportion of population, right?
Yeah, like so like people who watched porn while they were very Mormon, it was this taboo thing. They were warned against it repeatedly all the time at church and at the priesthood session of conference and everything. They would get, don't touch yourself, don't watch porn, it's all bad. They're being reminded of it 100% of the time, like all the time. It's always on their mind because their church leaders are always talking about it, and it's bad. And so you get all these people like, on their phones, sneaking around, looking at porn all the time. Do you think people look at porn less after they're no longer religious, like when they leave religion?
Well, I think they consume it more healthily. Like for alcoholics, one of the key characterizations of being an alcoholic is hiding your alcohol. Yeah. It's the same sort of logic for porn. If you're gonna addicted to porn, you are gonna be hiding it, and it's gonna be this like sneaky thing that you do. And if you bring it out into the open, I feel like it takes the power away from the so-called addiction.
So I will say there's a phenomenon in the post-religion world. I'm certain it's not just, I only know about it in post-Mormonism because that's all I've experienced, but I'm certain it's out there for leaving any religion, a high demand religion, as Spencer often says. But when I left Mormonism, it was the same with drinking. It was the same with masturbation and pornography, I was free to do it. And I was a grown ass man, in my early 40s. So I was like knocking back drinks and jacking it constantly because like I had all this freedom, right? Like, sorry, kids, if you're watching this, which probably you will.
Stop
But
watching.
This is just the tip with Kevin.
just the tip. No, it wasn't the tip. It was the whole shaft.
It was the whole shaft. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But no, it was everyone has a moment where you're moving, where your mind's expanding to recognize you recognize the freedom first.
Yeah.
And that freedom allows you the ability to really just go to fucking town, right? Whether it's alcohol, just about anything. R-rated movies, like I always watched R-rated movies as a Mormon, so that wasn't a thing for me. But for a lot of people, I know they leave the church and they're like, "Oh my God, what are all the R-rated movies I've missed over the last 30 years?"
They immediately want to do all the things that they couldn't do while they're Mormon, right?
But then
girls 1 cup, right?
Oh no.
Human centipede.
Edit.
No.
Human centipede.
No.
So what happens? What happens with most people is they come to a nice, healthy equilibrium. They have that night where they get blackout drunk, or they chap their penis because they masturbated eight times.
You're on a date, lying down next to them, and you throw up spaghetti and wine everywhere.
Oh God!
It happens.
Spaghetti.
So I've heard.
Hopefully you chew well. Yeah.
So I've heard.
But then you come pretty quickly, usually, to a healthy
Hey, I see what you did there.
Come pretty quickly.
You come pretty quickly to a healthy.
Take your time, dude.
Well, the taking your time happens after, but now
you got
after the one time I got blackout drunk, the one time I got truly blackout drunk. There's been a couple other times where it was close, but Spencer's party. Oh Jesus!
Yes.
I just wanted to lay. I just wanted to lay down in the snow and take a nap. I just wanted to take a nap.
I just want to lay in the gutter.
That fire, those coals look so
I'm
amazing. I'm
just lacing your shoes up, like.
Anyway.
Wild times.
I can sit on my porch on a Sunday when the home teachers come over. If you live in Lehigh, Utah, and you're not Mormon and still strangely somehow have home teachers, sip on a Negroni and just sip it and not worry about getting fucked up.
That didn't take the turn I thought it was gonna. I thought you were gonna say jack off on your front porch, but I was like, "Where's he going with this, man?"
No, I don't.
The missionaries are walking past. And,
oh Jesus Christ! No,
Jesus Christ!
Jesus Christ! No, I think there are normal human behaviors, normal human impulses that are there, and when we, to your all point, when we make them into these unnaturally evil things that they are not, all of a sudden they go to this very dark place. And we get these urges to make them, if we're told they're evil, then let's fucking go all in. And I mean, honestly, if I watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High, that was a popular show when I was a teenage kid, and masturbated to the scene where Phoebe Cates is topless in the swimming pool or whatever, like,
wait, what?
God, that's like such a normal straight teenage boy thing in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
That's far different than like some creepo who's watching porn that's like super evil and super unhealthy.
I told my kids, porn isn't bad because sex is bad. Porn can be just fine, but porn can also be destructive because it gives you unrealistic expectations about how sex should be between consenting partners.
But that's part of the conversation you're supposed to have, right?
Exactly.
Like that's why it makes it unhealthy. If you don't have those sorts of conversations, that's when it becomes unhealthy.
Right. And in really high demand religions, right? Like, I mean, you get these really like serious religions like Southern Baptist or Mormonism or what's
the devil just won, Belinda. You said Mormon.
Oh, that's good. The devil's
victory
my
for
friend.
Satan.
What's the other one that are kind of like Mormons, but they're like
Jehovah's
Witness, you know, religions like this
Scientologists.
that are that are really strict like this. Yes. Oh, I should have worn my goat ring.
Should have worn your Baphomet ring.
Yeah. Will, did you get one of those?
I didn't. We need
Okay,
a
you need to get one of
precedent.
For our
those.
listeners, we have satanic.
I'll send you one, Will. I'll send you one. Will.
We have
Okay.
Kevin, Belinda, and myself bought satanic rings once when we were drunk. one night.
Drunkenly ordered satanic
Yeah.
rings. Yeah. Off
That'll be our little podcast way of knowing that we're part of it.
It's true.
Yes.
That's
No,
true.
but in these very strict religions, there's two problems. One, a lack of education. So children are not taught sex ed either because they're homeschooled or like parents pull them out of whatever classes are held at the school or whatnot. So they have literally no clue what sex is in a healthy way, right? Like they have no concept of what this is. Then they get it's just bad. All these things are just bad. Not that, and then when they get
Next to
married, they're
murder
like,
even.
it's good. No, go have sex. And some people are really conflicted when they get married because they're like, all the things that were like evil are now okay. And so like, there's a lot of problems that way, but also the problems that you're not able to release your sex
Semen?
is a weird thing. Sex is just weird, right? Sex is weird. Everybody has
weird.
weird thoughts
Sex
about
is
sex,
disgusting.
or
It's fun.
things turn them on. They're like kind of odd to some people, kind of okay
Sex
to
is
other people,
personal
you know. Sex is very
and
connected.
Connected.
Yeah, but if you're not
Yes.
able to have discussions surrounding, you know, what really, you know, what you're into, right? Like what's your vibe, right? Like if you're not able to have that conversation with your partner, which most Mormons I think are not able to have that conversation prior to marriage, and certainly not after marriage
Or experience.
exactly. So they've got these ideas in their mind that sex is going to be a certain way, and their partner has ideas that sex is going to be this other certain way, and they're like trying to make it jive together after marriage because they didn't have sex
But you know, any two people can make it work if you have the
any
gospel of
two
Jesus
righteous
Christ.
people.
Who said
can
that? I
make a
can't
marriage
remember who
work.
said it. Was it Boyd K?
GBH.
Really?
It's Gordon B. Hinckley.
Yeah, it's just it's a problem, and I've told my kids this many times. I was like, you know, it's a good thing to live with a partner before you marry them. If you decide you want to be a married person, you should live with that person
Just
before
don't
you
make
get
me a
married.
grandma yet.
Exactly. We had that discussion this weekend, and I'll tell you more about that if you guys
Oh,
want to hear.
wow.
But I was like, if you want to, you know, get married eventually, you need to make sure that you are aligned sexually with the person that you're going to marry, just
Yeah.
flat out, and make sure that they're not going to sleepwalk and like beat you in your sleep or like do weird shit, or
my
like, you know what I
God.
mean? Like, or that they're into like sex stuff that's like totally revolting to you, or like, you know what I mean? There's so many things, so many ways.
Or they
that it could
insist
go,
on having a
right?
towel between you. So maybe Will won't
Sorry,
appreciate
Spencer.
this as much, but you know, Kevin, Belinda, and myself, we married
Not each other.
in the Mormon church, not
Oh.
each other. In the
No.
Mormon
That would have
church.
been cool though.
And
We
Male
should all-
polygamy.
Let's
I was a
all marry
virgin
each
when
other
I was a virgin when I got married. I was
in a
26.
solemn ceremony.
I was a
Let's marry each
26-year-old
other.
virgin.
I was a
Wow.
virgin. Yeah.
I was a 20-year-old virgin.
I
You
was
were right. You're
21,
fresh
yeah.
off your mission though, Kevin, right?
Yeah, like 2.5 months. Yeah.
Belinda was 20. So I think it's fair to say that we, at least the three of us, I don't know about you, Will, speak to that however you wish, but you know, this deferment of sexual exploration and then jumping into a committed, you know, and in the case of
eternity.
Mormonism, yeah, it's forever. It's like a billion year contract with another person
Forever. Yeah.
forever,
billion
almost.
years.
Basically, it's
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna be with you forever,
1
and we're
billion.
gonna have ghost babies when we die.
Cool.
But yeah, it's a heavy thing, you know, and like you said, Belinda, like trying to figure out what the other person likes and if you're compatible and crossing your fingers and hoping that it works out. I mean, I know so many people that have split for just even those reasons too.
Right. But I mean,
think-
go ahead, Will.
No, you go ahead, Belinda.
No, I just like when you're married in the Mormon church, unless you've been raised in a situation where you have more sex positive attitude, which in Utah at least is not the norm.
Occasionally it happens, but
it happens. It happens. I've heard of it happening. You are going to hear about sex from your girlfriends at girls' camp, or
your young women's leaders at girls'
your
camp.
young women's leaders at girls'
who
camp.
are barely out of girls' camp because
Exactly.
they're 19. Yeah.
Yeah, and they tell you things, and all the girls' eyes are just wide, just listening. Oh my goodness, and not really understanding what anything means. But it's all exciting and new and scandalous. But you've got all these issues as far as education. Like, I forgot where I was going with this because I've had.
Will is
I'm
like, oh
one
my
and a half
God, what?
Negronis deep.
Well,
No,
speaking,
I'm in deep.
Just the general point, like, I feel like so much of these problems are just because we make these things taboo.
Yeah.
You know what? And it's the same thing with politics too. Like, I'm not gonna get political.
no, just do it.
Get
No.
political,
Cut me
boy.
off if I get political. But this probably
do it.
won't. Okay, but I think it's like when we ignore these issues,
Yeah.
you know what? It goes with racism too. When people are like, "Oh, I'm colorblind. I don't see color. Everybody's equal to me." What that does is you ignore the problems. You need to pay attention. You need to talk about these things. It goes with racism and politics and sex and drugs. If you need to be open about these things. It reminds me of when I first started smoking weed. I kept it from my parents, of course, because I was underage. And
caveat here: Will is legally able to smoke weed in the state of Utah.
I do have a medical card. But when I first started smoking weed, it was largely because I was going through depression. And I actually didn't know that I was going through depression. I was just really sad all the time. I had suicidal ideations, the whole works, right? And I would use weed as my crutch. And I feel like looking back, so always hindsight 2020, but looking back, I feel like if I would have been open with my loved ones, with my parents and even my brothers, if I would have just told them what I was going through and like what I was doing to cope with it, maybe I would have gotten help before I would have made some decisions that I made. I feel like it's the same thing with drugs and alcohol. Like, alcohol is drug, but in sex and porn, I feel like when we make these things taboo, when we hide these things, that's when it gets worse. That's when the problems come.
Okay, I've got an interesting thought here.
Here, let's hear it.
A word's come up several times, and it doesn't sound like a very sexy word, but I'm going to argue why it is. Communication. Like, all of this seems to come down to, we fear things that are either unknown or scary, or we've been told by others they're scary or should be unknown.
Or uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we don't talk about them, or we only talk about them in a way that makes them seem like they are bad things, or like we should feel guilty over them. So to Belinda's point, when you have a sexual partner who is someone you can be open and transparent about your sexual needs with, all of a sudden sex becomes this wonderful thing where it's like, oh, cool. Even if your sexual needs are, you know what, I just don't feel it tonight, I'm not into it. And your partner says, oh, I'm really into it. And you say, well, maybe you can masturbate tonight, and then maybe I'll feel more like it tomorrow night. And they say, cool. And then they say, oh, it'd be really hot if I could masturbate in bed next to you while you're sleeping. Is that okay? Yeah, that's great. Okay, cool. Now you can both go to bed happy. And now no one feels guilty. And now, like, the world continues to turn around like it always does. But you feel happy. You don't feel in this stuck place where you, like Will felt like, not about masturbation, but, or sexual things, but, you don't feel, I'm not saying all depression comes from this, but certainly some does, comes from
Sure.
feeling like you can't be honest and open to the people you care about who you are, what you're experiencing, and what the world is like to you in the moment.
Right.
Right.
No, I think
Many
that's a really great point.
yeah, many people that I know of that have left the church really don't have a problem with porn as a whole. Most of them that I've talked to, some still do. And I've noticed that like it tends to happen if that was part of their split from their spouse, the porn addiction, because there was this disconnect between them, right? The one spouse was not getting something that was important to them sexually, and they weren't able to communicate that and meet each other's needs, right? And so they used porn as this outlet to fulfill that. And then you get I don't know, the other side of it. I think the biggest problem with the religiosity and sex, right, the hiding of sex and the demonizing of sex, is that it creates a problem for sexual violence within religious communities. Like, so back when I was a Mormon mom years ago, I used to love to watch 19 Kids and Counting. It was like a train wreck that never ended. I loved it. It was crazy as can be. And it was about this Southern Baptist family in like
Duggars,
Arkansas, right? The Duggars. Yes, the Duggars. And they had 19 fucking kids.
And counting.
And counting. Yeah, well, only 19. She finally tapped out. But like they had 1 million kids. The mom really didn't care for all the kids. She took care of like the bottom 3, and then the older ones were in charge of like taking care of the ones below them. Like they were assigned children to like care for and teach and clothe and bathe and the whole bit. Like it was ridiculous. And well, really the girl older kids, not the boy older kids.
Of course.
The problem was they were all homeschooled. They had this lockdown internet, like that was like only geared to like they could only directed to like very religious sites and these homeschool sites and everything. And guess what happened? If you haven't known, like, so the oldest Duggar's son ended up raping several of his sisters when they were children, because 1, he was not taught any sex education, and 2, he was taught it was bad, whatnot, and some of these things just came naturally. Oh fuck, I've got like my penis is hard. What do I do with this? Put it in a hole. I don't know.
Oh my
like
God.
Find a hole to put it in. Like
No,
it causes huge problems for people.
I think you're right, Belinda, because like this whole you guys know what incels are, right?
Yeah.
Maybe our listeners don't though.
Yeah,
So
so incels are so-called involuntary celibates. Mostly men. There are a few women who I think are mostly just grifters trying to take advantage of this community. But these people feel like they're I don't know, they're
entitled to sex.
Yes,
and
that's exactly
they
what
resent women because they struggle connecting and having experiences of their own.
And I think that stems from this whole idea of people not communicating about this sort of issue.
Yeah.
And I think there's actually there's been some Twitter discourse on this about there was a study or a survey that went out to a whole bunch of people, and the amount of men who are older than 18 but younger than 50 who haven't had sex,
it's trending upward.
It's not only trending upward, it's like skyrocketing. It's
really?
like it's like
it's
triple
spiking.
the amount that it was like a decade or 2 ago.
It's wild.
I had no idea.
What's happening?
Well, I think it has to do with I think there are a couple things. First of all, I just think our society is so stressed out, man. I feel like everybody's working to like just live their life. People need to work hard. They need 1 or 2 jobs just to pay rent and put food on the table. I think that's one aspect of it. But I think another aspect of it is just the whole entire country is just repressed. We have this repressed country where the majority of the country are part of these really conservative religions who are constantly demagoguing sex. And I feel like there's this like internal stress. And I feel like that's what's causing like men to sexually assault people. And I feel like a lot of these things could be solved if we had a more open society when talking about sex.
Yeah,
And
I think you're right for sure.
now I know I'm just like, I'm totally generalizing and I'm totally like simplifying the issue. Of course I am, but I feel
Yeah,
like that's a really
I
big
don't think
part.
it coalesces around one concept or idea. I mean,
Right.
even the idea of ownership of another human as it pertains to women.
Yes.
I think many religious viewpoints, mindsets have this idea of, and it goes back to some societal constructs as well, of just the ownership of another person's body or entitlement to another person's body. And so the
Well,
resentment comes when,
patriarchy.
yeah,
Like
patriarchy is what I'm
is
getting
it.
at. Exactly. Patriarchy, deeply rooted in conservative religions as well. But this idea that, oh, well, you owe it to me, you know,
Mm.
there's a certain permissiveness that comes with being a man, I will say, um, in those religious contexts that is very harmful, and it creates unhealthy, dangerous conditions for women. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not in a position to speak on perhaps even Belinda how you feel day to day, uh, just even being around men, and like, you know, I hear stories and I hear experiences and I'm just like, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
Like living in fear, or at least having to be hyper aware of your surroundings, and just all these little things, you know, this
Well, even
extra
I was
burden that you have to carry
I
as a
mean,
woman.
so tonight, before we all started recording, right? I was running late because I took my kids home and I was trying to get them out the door sooner, but they were like, "What's wrong, Mom? Well, you know, like we're just hanging out." I was like, "Oh, I'm trying to get you out the door." They'd understand that like it's still light outside now, but when I get back home, it's gonna be dark outside, and I'm gonna have to walk into the house in the dark from my parking spot, right? And that's one tiny thing that I have to deal with. But you know, I live in downtown Salt Lake, and you know, and I live in a pretty stinking safe area. I'll have to be honest, but still, like having to walk, you know, from my car to my door, I do it quickly. I do it very
It's
quickly.
and
Get there.
it's a not a long walk, but a bit of a walk. You have to,
True.
yeah,
And not well lit either. So
yeah.
I try to do
Arguably,
it quick.
and arguably something I've never had to think about or worry about. You know,
Yeah.
I don't
No.
think, oh man, I'm
well,
gonna, someone's
even
gonna get me. It's like, I'm not thinking
Yeah.
about that.
I was talking to my little sister. She's 16 years old, and she's talking about like wanting to learn how to use a knife
Yeah.
for self-defense and to use like pepper spray and stuff. Those are not things that I think about at all, ever. I
No.
never think about those sorts of things. And I think it comes from like this sort of culture of it's rape culture is really what it is. I it's the same thing like when it's embedded in the rules that they teach kids in high school and middle school and elementary school. Like girls aren't allowed to wear certain things, but guys can wear whatever the fuck they want. It's deeply rooted in our culture, and I hate it. I hate it. I want to change it.
I agree.
Do it.
Yeah.
We'll do it.
I can
Fucking
tell you
do
guys
it.
the story about
I'm
my
trying.
6 visits to the men's health clinic. How about I tell you all
Oh
that story?
yes, yes, please.
Okay, so
Wait, you've already done all 6?
no. I'm gonna tell
Oh,
you about it. I'll tell you all about it. So one night, Kevin and I were watching TV and drinking profusely. And I never get on Groupon, never, ever, ever. And somehow I ended up on Groupon looking at all the bargains to be had. And there was one bargain that was like 6 vitamin B shots. I was like, oh, those
that
are
sounds
really good for
healthy.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good for you. Like, and I know they give you stinking tons of energy and all these things. And it was like $30.
Spencer needs some right now.
I need some right now.
Yeah.
Someone
A
inject
boost,
me.
an energy boost. So
Fill
I was
me
like,
up.
oh, yeah, I'm gonna totally buy that. $30 for 6 vitamin B shots.
Why not? Yeah.
Sold. And I bought that shit. So then the next day I get an email from this men's health clinic confirming my purchase of 6 visits to their
6
testosterone
injections.
boosting men's health clinic. And I was like, hold up, what did I just buy? So I tell them, I'm like,
Wait, they're shooting up with testosterone?
it's like one of those testosterone places, like when you
Oh,
like
but
can't, like you're struggling, like I guess with
Gotcha.
the man parts. I don't know how all that works, but like
Your
it's one of
penis
those
is less
places-
tumescent.
Yes.
yes. And so you can go there to get
It's not
testosterone
zucchini-like.
thingamajigs. I don't know. But they also have vitamin B shots, I guess. And so the person who runs the clinic, they have like a auto text thing, like, you know, a 5-digit, you know, code or whatever. They text me and they're like, oh, you know, like, when do you want to come visit? And I was like, so I'm a lady. And I purchased this drunkenly on Groupon. Am I okay to still have these? But or like, are they formulated for men?
Oh my God.
pH balance for women, you know.
That's deodorant, Belinda. That's deodorant. Yeah.
Something like that. And they're like, oh no, yeah, you can totally take it. I was like, oh, okay, that's great. So after, you know, back and forth, they were like, oh, we're out of the B shots right now, but we're getting them in next week. I'm like, okay. Finally,
the V shots.
B
B.
shots.
Oh,
Vitamin
B.
Vitamin B.
I was
Vitamin
like,
B. Sorry.
Jesus
I'm
Christ.
probably slurring my words just a tiny bit because I've
Or
had a lot to drink.
I'm slurring my ears. You know.
Yeah, I'm very
I'm
drunk.
I'm also feeling bad because there was something else I was gonna say and I don't remember what I was gonna say. It was something about what Will said earlier, but I'll
Well,
come back to that.
I guess I keep on. I've been trying to figure out what the word for this is, but
What?
I mean it's toxic masculinity. Like
It is.
when you were talking about that, it just reminded me of I saw some ads on Facebook the other day for like testosterone
Supplements?
Supplements.
whatever. Can someone say that?
Supplements. Yeah.
Supplements.
Supplements? I can't.
Supplements.
Supplement.
But
And with that, I'll pour more gin.
I think that there's just like this really unhealthy obsession with men and their masculinity. Guys, masculinity fucking sucks. I don't understand what is so great about masculinity, honestly. Like I understand.
What is masculinity? Like, to be
I don't
honest,
know.
right? Like,
that's the thing.
Right.
That's the thing is it doesn't have a definition, and so anybody can be like, "Oh, you're just like a soy boy," or whatever the fucking terms that they use, and it's
that bullshit.
all fucking stupid. Just be your fucking best self. This
I
whole idea of like being a manly man or whatever, it's fucking stupid. Manly men are
agree.
stupid. Don't be a fucking manly man.
What, like some bro dude? That's bullshit. No,
I mean,
so
to add a bit of context to I think the broader
Okay.
concept, and maybe I'm getting too high level here, but with life, one thing I've discovered leaving Mormonism, you know, as we've been talking about sexuality and masculinity and all these concepts at large, is that, you know, coming out of a context where we were told this is how it is, and you go, okay,
Yeah.
cool, this is how it is.
God's
Much of life is relative. So much of life
agree.
is subjective and relative to your own context, and it's an uncomfortable thing to talk about because I think many of us, by virtue of how we grew up or where we grew up, circumstances, whatever,
Yeah.
you lean on your parents or some other authority for your formative truths and identity, and as you leave that behind, you know, or hopefully leave that behind, some people hold on even tighter, right, out of fear.
True.
But really, so much is subjective.
Yeah.
So much.
No, it's true.
Well, I think.
What?
Sorry, Kevin. I'm
No,
not-
go ahead.
What I was thinking is like, yeah, so much is subjective and so much is relative, and I feel we were talking about in our group chat just a little bit last night, when all of you were sleeping, but I feel like labels are just really detrimental.
Yeah, labels are an attempt at creating some fixed point of objectivity about something, but
Right.
really it can be harmful because labels can be weaponized against people or groups, or
True.
you know,
Right.
just
I
used in
mean,
unhealthy ways.
it
And
even goes back to like the what we were talking about at the very start of this episode. Like when you start generalizing things and putting people into buckets, and I won't get into this, but like the big problem that I had in high school was like I got caught with doing some little bit of weed. And I remember like teachers telling me like, oh, you're just gonna become a weed head, and you're gonna like end up in some dead end job, and you're not gonna have a life, and you're like all of your life
Typical
is gonna be
scare
a struggle.
tactics, right?
But I feel like so this is just an example of this. I feel like when you apply like those sorts of labels, like, oh, you're a druggie, you're going to end up in like a dead end job, blah, 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 blah. When you apply those labels, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It like when you start talking about like, oh, you're not a manly man. And so you start like, you feel like, oh, I'm not living up to like who I can be. Like, I'm not living up to the identity that I think I had. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where it starts to become a problem, and it starts to affect you in negative ways.
True.
Same thing with like porn. When they start telling you like, you should feel guilty for watching porn. You should
you're
feel
an
guilty.
addict.
Yeah, you're an addict.
Now
You're-
you
Wait,
do,
what?
and you are.
And
Yeah,
then you
you're-
become one. Yeah.
That's
Whatever.
exactly what's going to happen. Is you are going to start hearing these sorts of things, and it starts to associate in your brain with those sorts of things. So when you start watching porn, you immediately, oh, I should feel shame, so therefore I feel shame. I should feel guilt for doing this, so I feel guilt.
So,
Yeah.
go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, you can go ahead.
I was just going to say, communicating about sexual proclivities is something straight people suck at. They suck at it.
Yes.
It's this pussyfooting around like, so what are you into? I don't know. What are you into? Like bullshit. Like when you're dating, it's like, oh, I like regular sex. Oh, me too.
Everything.
I like
a
everything.
potato up
Oh,
my ass while
really?
being choked. How about you?
You know what? The queer community has got this fucking nailed down. They communicate this first off. It's first off,
hanky culture, right?
the hanky code. Kevin and I learned about the hanky code a couple of years ago. We're like, this is unreal. So in
It's
the queer
awesome,
community,
actually.
if you aren't clued in, so at least gay men, for the most part, I don't know if it
I think
applies
it's
to
mostly
lesbians,
gay
mostly gay
but
men.
yeah.
So in the gay male community, like the thing is like they had something back in the day, the hanky code, and depending on the color of the hanky and where you wore it on your person tells the person what you like and how you like it.
We'll put it in the
And,
show notes. Yeah.
we can put it in the show notes, the hanky code, because we noticed there was this lovely man we met at a gay bar one time with some friends, and he was wearing a handkerchief, a bandana of a certain color in a certain pocket in his outfit. And we were like, oh, okay. And he explained it to us, and our eyes were just bugging out. We're like, what on earth? This is amazing. And I think it was around the time that somebody's employer was having a pride event, and we are like, oh, we should do this color hanky. It means that they like such and such. That would be hilarious. Like
That company, who shall remain nameless, their color at the time was very well, it was a certain color.
It was a certain
I'll
color.
let you figure it out from the show notes.
Yeah.
What color that was. And that color of hanky meant I'm down for everything.
Hell yes.
All
Yeah.
of it. Whatever.
But
Whatever you're into. Yeah.
Gay people historically don't have time to work that out, like flirtations and coyness and like all this silliness, like dating and courting each other.
Belinda,
I gotta get down to brass tacks, right? Let's figure out
I'm
what we
so-
like and do that thing.
I'm so happy that you brought that up. I honestly, so I really just, sexuality just isn't part of my identity. Like I know for some people it is. For me, it's personal, right? Like for me,
Yeah.
it's just not part of my identity. But I have found that like when I am pursuing like a man as opposed to a woman, it's so much easier talking about this sort of stuff.
Interesting.
It really is.
What do you think the difference is though? I'd love to
I
know.
honestly, I haven't. I would have to think about it because I honestly
Fair.
haven't even thought about it until this moment. Like, it really is such a big difference when talking to women, or even now that I'm thinking about it, even like talking to like bisexual women or women who are not straight. There's a big difference when talking to men and non-straight women than there is to talking to straight women. Like I feel like when people are more open about their sexuality, it allows them to be more open about like their wants and their desires. They have a better idea of their the type of things that they want.
Is it about them being open, or is it about them being open in a frowned upon or
honestly, Kevin, I'm not even sure if it's about even being open. I think it's about being more aware about the type of things that they like. Like it's not even about sexuality too. It's about like the type of things that they're pursuing in the type of relationship that you want out of like even having a simple conversation over like Bumble or Tinder or something. It's about them just being able to express in a more defined way the type of things that they're comfortable with. If that does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, the straight puritanical idea of like this courtship, you want to take time to get to know each other before you pair off and all this thing. And it continues on much past its, life. Like it's, I don't know. It shouldn't, it's played out. Let's just say that it's played out. Like people need to say, this is what I like. And if you don't meet this base minimum, let's not pursue like an emotional relationship, right?
Yes.
Because like your sexual relationship, if you're going to be paired off with one or more than one person, is very critical to your relationship, like your interpersonal relationship, right?
Can we just all agree like straight, binary, Christian culture is played out?
I agree. Yes.
Let's just call it out. Let's call a spade a spade. Yeah. Like
let's cancel Christian binary culture.
Yes. That's not to say you can't be Christian and binary, but that as a culture for the rest of, American society to live by is fucking canceled. I canceled it right here on March 21st, first day of spring. It's the renewal. It's spring, it's newness. We're canceling that shit. And as of 10:48 p.m. on March 21st, 2021, it's officially canceled.
I agree.
Put it in Wikipedia. I might do that after the show tonight.
The whole situation smacks of like, maiden with a parasol, on a cart, being courted by, some young man, and this bullshit, like, wholesome AF and ridiculous. And, it's going to go south in a hurry when they have sex, right? But let me tell you about what happened when I went to the men's health clinic.
Oh, yes. Back to
finish that. Yes.
The penis shots.
Oh, right.
So they finally got the vitamin B shots in stock, and they were like, okay, come in. And they were open, blah, 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 hours. And I was like, okay. I was like, you don't need a regular appointment? They're like, no, just come in and we'll give them to you. So I put the address into my phone and drive there on a break from work. And I get there and it's just like a house. It's on a main thoroughfare.
What?
But it's
sounds
just
sketchy.
a house.
Sounds so sketchy.
Like, just come on in and we'll give it to you. Yeah.
Wait, Belinda, did you just say thoroughfare?
Thoroughfare,
yes.
yeah. It's like a main road in Salt Lake, like somewhere where you could get off the freeway. And
an arterial road,
right? An arterial road. Yes, thank you.
In our urban structure.
Yes.
I've never heard that term used outside of like a very specific engineering context.
Really?
To me, campari.
Sorry, I don't mean to derail what you're saying.
So I get there and it's a charming old house, and I get there and it is just a house. There's a parking lot next to it, but I walk up to the front door and it says, "Go around to the back door," and I'm like, "Oh, okay.
What the fuck?"
So
like
I
literal
go
or
around,
figurative?
What? Oh, literally, they wanted me to go to the back door of the house.
Okay, thank you. Just clarify.
Oh my God, I'm dying.
Okay, so I get to the back door of the house, right? And there's like this like old timey like 20s like wooden screen, and I open it up and I go in the house, and I get inside the house, and
at no point you're thinking I'm going to be murdered.
not until I got inside the house. Then I
Okay.
get inside the house, and it's like and there's like a little like printed like I can't think of like the program, but like some like
MS
old
Paint?
time
MS
MS Paint
Paint.
arrow like go upstairs. And I'm like, and I look up the stairs, and there's another door up the stairs,
You're like,
and I can hear people talking, and
God.
it's rundown. It's a little rundown. And I look, and I'm like, I start walking up the stairs, and I'm like, did I check the reviews of this place? Did I check anything about this place? And finally, I start walking back down the street. Like, oh fuck, I'm in too deep. Like I'm gonna be murdered. Whatever. And some woman comes out of the restroom downstairs. I'm like, do you work for this clinic? And she's like, oh yeah. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I follow her upstairs, and I, go, she gives me a shot, and she just hands me a baggie full
You
of
took
syringes.
a shot from a fucking stranger.
I took a shot from a stranger in a house.
Old
in
house.
a decrepit
In an old
old
house.
building.
Off a
yeah.
major
like-
thoroughfare.
I mean, it had like a
Thoroughfare.
name, a thoroughfare. It had a name brand on the syringe. I was like, I'm good. It's good. It's cool.
It had a
So I
name
have
brand. They
I
could
mean,
put whatever the
it was
fuck they
rubbed
wanted
off
it
a
to.
little bit from use, but
my
yeah.
God.
Other than
So
that,
they
okay.
gave me a Ziploc bag full of syringes full of this stuff. I
What
haven't
the
tried it yet.
fuck?
I've never given
So you-
myself a shot in my life.
You don't go
Uh,
back again. You just you self-inject.
Yes, I haven't tried it yet. Have you guys ever done that? Have you shot yourself with shit?
I've given a child a shot, but never
Yeah.
myself. Yeah.
It's the needle's only like this big. It's like tiny, and there's like it looks like it's full of Campari.
Where-
It's me.
Amazing.
Amazing.
What
I remember injecting the mother of my children with some hormone thing once.
Oh,
Oh,
I
really?
did that.
Interesting.
Yes, not.
How do you do it though?
not
Like,
sexually.
You
Kink?
pinch the flesh and pierce
You
it.
injected her with a hormone?
It's like
So-
it releases eggs and shit.
Oh yeah. When I had to do it, you just like right in the leg, just in the meaty part, like
The
Stick and-
person said to do it
stick
in
and
my belly
push.
fat. They're
Yeah,
like, grab your
exactly.
belly fat and then
That's where it was. Yep.
Oh, really?
"Whoa, that sounds
How-
awful.
How quickly do you inject it? Do you like, or do you just, like,
As
I don't
quick
know.
as
I'm
you're
nervous.
feeling in the moment.
I'm past due for my shot.
Wait, how long ago was
Actually,
this?
A week ago,
Oh
over
my
a week ago.
God.
It was like last
my God.
Thursday.
Oh my god.
I haven't
Oh.
taken it since then, but I have
I'm-
the shots all in my purse, and I don't know what to do with them.
I'm happy to inject you. I'll do it.
Okay.
I'm not part of this. I've never heard of what's happening here. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
just,
Do we
Wow.
need to put the needle under a lighter first and like
Do it. Do it.
and
Probably.
No.
next week
is-
it'll just be me and Spencer.
No,
And-
but I've been
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I've been
Because
in
I'm
many,
in prison and she's dead.
Yeah.
I've been in many a dicey situation. Let me just tell you. And just as a woman,
Sure.
like I went to Dubai just over a year ago, and somebody like on the internet was like, "Oh, you can buy counterfeit bags in Dubai," and I was like, I have like almost zero interest in purses, but that sounds like some mischief I could totally get into. And so I looked up like how to buy a counterfeit bag in Dubai, and how you do it is this. I'm going to tell you how to buy a counterfeit bag in Dubai. You find a spice souk, okay? Any spice souk will do. And you take a cab
What's
to
a spice souk?
What the fuck's a spice
a
soup?
spice like market.
You
A
say
souk
you
is-
say that so
Oh.
casually,
I
like you're
know.
supposed to know.
Just
what the
find a
fuck
spice
you're-
souk. Any
Find a
spice
spice
souk.
souk.
Everybody knows what a spice souk is. Yeah.
It's
We're
a
all
souk
like-
is like a market of
Okay,
sorts.
okay.
And so you Google on your phone, like when you're in Dubai, you find a spice souk that's open at a certain time of day or whatever. You get a cab to the spice souk, and when you get out of the cab, there will usually be people clamoring for your attention to like purchase things, right? And you tell them
It's a
you
market.
want handbags. You tell them you want handbags, and you want super master handbags. That means you want the good counterfeit bags. You want not the shitty stuff, right? So you say super master handbags, and they're like, got you. We got you. So I go to the beach one day. The spice suit doesn't open till 4. I'm like, oh, I've got time to go to the beach and like lay in the sun and do whatnot. So I do that all day. Then I go
Can
back
you
to
lay
my.
in the sun in Dubai? I'm being serious here. I don't know.
For
It
like
was
5
lovely.
minutes.
Yeah, it was
For like
warm.
5
Can
It
you
was like in the.
can you be in a bathing suit?
You
in Dubai?
can, yes.
Okay.
Dubai is much more liberal than like other places
Oh,
in
okay.
the Emirates. Like when we were in Abu Dhabi, they didn't make you wear scarves, but I always kept my head covered and my hair pulled back and things like that. Unless you go into like what are those churches called?
Mosque.
Drunk. A mosque. If you go into a mosque, you have to be very covered.
Sure.
And I didn't bring clothes appropriate for a mosque, unfortunately, because I thought it was going to be like
Only
90
tank
degrees.
tops showing off your porn shoulders. We
Yes,
get it.
all tank tops.
Dicks
no.
in the underarms. Okay.
Yes. So you go to a spice souk. So I take this cab later, and my cabbie was like this guy from Nigeria who loved Donald Trump, and I was shocked as fuck.
Oh,
I can understand that.
Yeah, they love him in
I'm
Nigeria. Actually, he
just
was like,
saying.
everybody in Nigeria loves Donald Trump, and I was like, what? Because I was like apologizing. I'm like, I know, I'm from America. We're all awful, terrible people. Yes, I know. He's like, no, we love Donald Trump. I'm like, what? What are you saying?
It's a
I was
thing.
like,
It's a
Is
thing.
that just a?
It was a refreshing.
No, it's a thing,
perspective.
Will. It's a thing.
Yeah.
But is it like a thing to kind of try to be like, oh no, you tourists are cool, like with like
No, they really love him, and I was like, it was an interesting perspective. I took it, and I accepted his point of view. I was like, oh, that's very interesting, cool. He was a great guy. He's awesome. We get to the spice souk, and it's mostly empty because it's the beginning of COVID, so there aren't a lot of tourists there. I get out, and there are several people there, and they say handbag, and I say yes, but sunglasses first. And so they're like, okay, yes. And I say super master, and they're like, yes, we know. So they take me into this really shitty looking, like kind of like a I don't know, a tourist, like what a souvenir
Like a
shop.
Souvenir shop.
A souvenir shop that sells like, and it was like knockoff Fendi sweats and like bullshit. It was bullshit. Like little like, Dubai like flags and things. Like it was really
The little
shitty stuff.
shaky bits.
Yeah, like snow globes.
Snow
We don't
globes,
have
yeah.
snow in Dubai, but yeah, they have like bullshit like that, right? Aladdin lamps, lots and lots of Aladdin lamps there.
how could you possibly know what Kevin was saying when he said that?
Shaky.
It's like
Fucking shaky bits.
And you're thinking, oh yeah, snow globes. Yes, snow globes.
She knows I'm
doesn't
into
know.
snow globes. It's fine. That's fine.
He loves the snow globes. So they take me into this shitty little tourist spot. This little, what did you just say?
A souvenir shop.
Souvenir shop. They take me to the back of the souvenir shop and up a spiral staircase, okay, into the attic of said souvenir shop. We'll post photos in the show notes. It's frightening. And it is this low ceiling. It's like 6.5 foot ceilings. There are like deconstructed like mannequins all over and hangers everywhere. And they sit me on this couch in front of a little coffee table, and they bring out box after box after box of counterfeit sunglasses. And they show them all to me. It was so much fun.
Deconstructed mannequins. So there's like arms in places and heads
Yes,
and
indeed.
torsos. Oh, wow.
Absolutely. Just like, it's freaky, right? It's like the upstairs of like a 1987 ZCMI. I don't know. It's weird. Nobody's gonna know what that means.
I believe most of our listeners are in Utah. They'll know.
What the fuck?
So I'm up in this attic, but I'm like, okay, it's scroungy. And I'm here with just one other person. I don't know what's happening. They seem congenial, but they're showing me all these sunglasses. I'm like, I'll buy this, I'll buy this, I'll buy this. Another guy shows up, this Italian guy, and he's buying watches.
It's a me, Negroni.
It was a me, a Negroni. And he's buying wristwatches. He wants the fancy, he's like buying all these fancy wristwatches from these people. And he just knew exactly what he wanted. And he's like, I'll take this and this and this. Buying counterfeit wristwatches. So I find a few sunglasses I like. And I was like, okay, and handbags? And they're like, we'll take you somewhere else for handbags. And I
Yep.
was like, oh, okay. So I pay for the sunglasses. I leave.
This
and
is where we murder you. Oh wait,
I mean,
they're
kind
not
of.
Italian, but yeah.
So after the sunglasses, I bought the sunglasses, and then the guy takes me downstairs and he takes me through this like little alleyway and to another shop and passes me off to this other guy. And the guy's like, he's like, oh, handbags, super master handbags. I'm like, yes, yes. He takes me down another alleyway, and it's like like I don't even know how to describe this. It's like an apartment complex, sort of like in between like these little shops, these souvenir shops. And there are these really wide, kind of like red doors with like a big like industrial handle on them. And he takes me up these stairs to the second level.
Belinda.
And it's this like concrete hallway with red doors, these big metal red doors.
What the?
And it's just me and this one dude, right? So we go down this hallway upstairs. He takes me he unlocks this one red door and opens it, lets me in. And then he closes the red door and
What?
locks
Oh my God.
And locks it with the key from the inside.
No.
For Christ's sake, I'm not fucking kidding you. And I'm like, we're doing this.
You're like, this is it. This is it.
Oh my God.
Handbag.
Let's
go.
You are so much more brave than I am.
And I was like, I'm here for it. Let's try this out. Let's see what happens. I'm like, I'm not really cute enough to be like human trafficked. So I'm like, I wasn't really super concerned about that. But I was like, maybe they'll kill me. Maybe I don't know what's going to happen. And it's like this foyer and it's got like a bean bag on the floor and a rack
shit.
and a rack of like lady scarves on a little pegboard on the
Trophies,
wall.
you mean trophies?
Maybe.
Oh.
And a couple of other red doors. And so we're just kind of in this foyer area inside after he's locked me with the key inside. And this other guy comes out of another door and I'm like, oh shit. Oh shit, I'm dead meat. And he's like, oh, handbags. And the guy's like, okay, cool, dude. And he walks off. And he opens another key door. And it's a beautiful showroom. Like, it looks like it's out of Nordstrom.
What?
I'm not fucking kidding you. We'll put all these in the show notes.
She's got pictures.
I've got photos because I was like,
okay.
what is happening? It looks like a Nordstrom showroom with every sort of designer handbag that you can imagine.
Fake, so.
Yes. All fake.
Super Masters.
And Super Master handbag. Well, this is the
I'm a
first
super master.
Super Master.
Sorry.
So this is the first room, the anteroom, as it were,
Okay.
of handbags. And these are nice. They're really good copies of everything. So I was like looking at everything. He's showing me all this stuff. They've got shoes, like all the cool shoes. They've got everything, like Gucci, like I don't know, Chanel, everything you can think of, right? And then I kind of questioned the quality on one of the bags, and he's like, oh, hold on. And he opens another door, goes into another room where the nicer shit is, right? He's like holding up a lighter to like the leather on this Louis Vuitton bag to like show that it's real leather and not fake and all this stuff. Anyway, so I buy some bags from this dude. He's lovely. He's just wonderful. And then he takes me around to some other shops to buy souvenirs for my nieces and nephews, like, and fun things for all my family members. And then he hails me a cab and sends me on my way.
Did you smoke a cigarette together after?
You pay him with a lock of your hair.
No.
Oh, a scarf.
But
simply a scarf for the pegboard.
Give me scarf.
It's me. I have his WhatsApp, and we
oh shit.
He sends me little videos of the cool new things he has
you
for
serious?
sale. I'm
so
fucking serious.
You know, I as I was listening to your story, I was reminded of the time I spent in Hong Kong once on a trip.
Oh dear.
And yeah, I wanted a watch.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I wanted a Movado or a Bell & Ross watch. And it's a similar thing. You get directed through an alleyway and up 3 flights of stairs and over a building and underground and then back and left and right. And then you finally arrive in this room and they bring out the samples and you just pick what you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's as you were telling me the story, I was remembering my experience in Hong Kong doing pretty much the same thing.
I want to see this watch.
I was trying to find pictures, but I don't have them. I think I'm gonna have to dig a little.
You don't
bit
have
deeper.
the watch still?
I don't have that watch. I have a watch, but yeah.
A better watch.
Yeah.
Well, from this story, I am inspired, and the spirit is talking to me, and it is saying that we need to have a Thirst Impressions episode where we go abroad.
Oh my
Real
God, that
somewhere.
would be amazing.
Yes.
Because guys,
Yes.
That'd be incredible.
Wait, abroad like Orem or abroad like yeah.
Road trip.
no.
Road trip to Orem, motherfuckers, University Place. What's up?
Do they have alcohol?
We go
in
into the
Orem?
rack
A
in
little bit,
Orem. Yeah.
a little bit.
No. I'm talking about hearing these stories is awesome because I'm so sheltered, guys. I have not been outside of the country except for Canada.
You're a
Ooh,
baby
Will.
though. You shouldn't
That's
have
true.
been. Yeah.
You've got time.
Unless you went on a
Outside of
mission.
the country.
If you
Besides,
could have gone on a mission, Will.
I know.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
And Canada doesn't count because it's basically just America. So
Yeah.
it's like
America's
little
hat.
America.
Little America.
We have one of those here.
Oh, that's downtown. Yeah.
All right. Well, I feel like this conversation could branch off into like
It
10
could.
3-hour
I f-
conversations with all
I
the topics.
feel like
we
it already
covered.
has. Yeah.
And no, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll revisit some of these topics about sexuality and religion and travel
As we should.
adventures. What was that? Masturbation? Yeah. The shaft, tumescence, all of that good stuff. So, porn. It's been great. Reminder: we are on YouTube. We're on Twitter at ThirstPod, Thirst Impressions Podcast on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. Definitely subscribe if you're watching on the YouTube.
Subscribe. And our beautiful website.
Our beautiful
Oh,
website. We're gonna be
Our
breaking out.
website is so good. So good.
We're gonna be breaking out some of the alcohol portions of our episodes for you. So
It's true.
watch out for that. Man, do you guys realize we've made it 11 episodes so far
Are you serious?
Wow.
11
Yeah.
plus with
11
the extra shit.
with the
yeah.
wine and wine? Yeah, and a couple of clips. Yeah, we're on a roll.
Let's
so
do another wine and wine soon.
we're gonna keep
Well,
it going
Freedom.
for sure.
Here's the thing. We've heard great feedback from all of our listeners. Not all of you, but a lot of you. We
Shout
love
out to
it.
Big
Keep
Dick
the
Darren.
Big Dick Darren always gets a shout out.
Shout out.
Darren is awesome.
But here's the thing. Tell your friends about it. We would love to how can I say this? I'm very drunk. Sorry.
It sounds like you're gonna say something scandalous.
Just
I was
pretend-
going to, but it was a bad idea. So I
Pretend
stopped.
you're flirting with a
Um,
dude and you can be direct. Just say what you mean.
Oh shit.
and mean what
We
you
want
say.
to be in all your lives. No, seriously.
Oh my God.
We would love to expand the conversation. Please give us a feedback. We'd love to hear about drinks you would like us to present on here, topics you'd love us to present on here. And we even have some things in the works. I'm going to keep it really general because I don't know the mystery of it all, but we have some things in the works where we'd love to be a part of your lives more. We'll just say that, and we'll keep it there for right now.
Is this an
but,
orgy?
It's orgy-ish.
We want to find the alleyways
Only-
the
only
secret
for-
showroom of your
the
life.
thoroughfares.
We want to be on the thoroughfare
Thoroughfares.
to your
We want
heart.
to enter the thoroughfare. No,
The
No.
Dubai thoroughfares.
We want to
of
find
your
the
life,
back
yeah.
door to yourselves.
You know,
Okay.
off of the thoroughfare.
We're here for your back door.
We're here for your back
baby.
door. That's our show T-shirt.
I'm
Okay,
sorry that I can't
Thanks.
be the adult and wrap this all in. I'm very drunk right now.
I don't think anybody should be a.
all right. Well, thanks everyone. We'll
We
see
love
you next
you.
time. We love you
Um,
all.
Make us
A drink.
Make us a drink.
I
No,
think
tell
I'm
us
the-
what to make. Tell us what to make. Tell us what
I didn't
to
know
do.
you were gonna
and we'll
say.
do
It.
it.
I didn't know if you
No, I
were
was
gonna say
gonna
make
say-
us proud or like make us.
No, I'm drunk. I don't know.
Reach around and make us proud. Okay, everyone, have a wonderful week. Thank you for
I'm safe.
See
listening.
you next week.
See ya. Bye.
Be safe.
Oh my god, I'm so drunk.
I'm not drunk at all, so I got a suit made overnight.
You're shirtless most of the time.
Walmart smells like a steak made out of feet.
I swear to God, I get diarrhea every time I walk into a Walmart. Like I gotta shit every time I walk in there. I bought 3 pairs of jeans at Walmart. I've never done that before in my entire life, and they were lovely. Yeah.
Organic cotton too.
It's when you masturbate, but then hold off at the last minute. I see you're trying to jack off. What type of porn do you prefer?